So I'm fascinated right now so 2 years ago, I think most Americans trusted in checks and balance. They might not trust Congress. They might not trust certain aspects of it, but they said, look, no one's going to be able to overreach. Now they don't trust anybody. Like, there's no trust in any of the institutions. They think everybody's biased.
Well, why should we trust them? Look at the texts.
But that
insurance policy.
Here is where I agree with you. In the old days, you would trust the FBI. You would trust them with your life, and you would trust them with the Constitution.
You mean before they became politicized?
Yes.
Under the Obama administration?
Yes. I think there has been politics for a long time, but not to the extent that we see now. We're going to talk in a few minutes about Jim Comey.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know which of those memos that he gave to his professor friend up at Columbia had classified material, and I don't know who classified it, and I don't know when it was classified. But it does appear to me, who examines these things for a living, that he did break the law by releasing information that he knew either was or ought to have been classified.
I totally agree. I mean, Dagan, do you find it at all ironic that here you have a former FBI director out and about trashing President Trump, all at the time that his very FBI is being investigated for this misuse and misconduct and massive amount of abuse of power?
He's a narcissist. I mean, if he cared about the FBI, he would keep his mouth shut. But he doesn't care about the FBI. He cares about. He worships at the altar of self. And I want to. One thing that bothers me about Comey. And by the way,
Dagan could put it that way.
This is the Comey. This is the FBI of J. Edgar Hoover. The abuses that went on under J. Edgar Hoover for decades. Did it ever really change? Is my question.
Well, we didn't know about the abuses then because we didn't have the level of transparency. Now we do.
And we deserve to know about the abuses under Jim Comey.
Yes, you're right.
And his buddies.
Yes, you're right.
What bothered me more than anything that I've heard in the interviews, in the memos, the Comey memos that were released, is when he went to brief President Trump in private about about the dossier. George Stephanopoulos asked him, did you tell him that it was funded by political opponents? And he said, no, that was not necessary to my goal.
But what's his goal? To get Hillary Clinton elected. That was the goal.
No, this is after. This took place the first week in Trump Tower in January.
To delegitimize this president. That was his goal.
Yes, I too was offended by that answer. But from my perspective, it's weird that Bob Mueller would allow him to be doing this. He is one of Bob Mueller's principal witnesses against the president. When you have a witness about to testify for you or who has testified for you, you got to tighten some reins on that person because this 2 weeks worth of book selling may sell a lot of books, but it will also so undermine his credibility that nobody will believe him if he gets on a witness stand.
The IG report is forthcoming, and in that IG report that we're going to get out in the month of May, we're going to hear what the Inspector General has to say about Jim Comey and about his lying and leaking.
And by the way, Mueller and Comey are friends.
Yes.
Even if Mueller doesn't call him directly, don't you get somebody in your group of friends to call him and tell him to shut it down?
I think that's why he moved up the book tour, because the book tour initially was later. Maybe he moved up the book tour because he knows a lot is coming from the IG report, and so I better move up the book tour so that I'm not right in the middle of the media tour when I'm going to have to answer questions about what the IG just said about me.
He received a $10 million royalty. I mean, that's in the Hillary Clinton and Pope Benedict range. So he's got to sell those books to justify that. Does the American public, the vast middle that you spend your time examining, see this problem of law enforcement being politicized, or is it over their heads, or is it too in the weeds?
Absolutely, it's not too in the weeds. The American people are really, really smart, and we don't give them enough credit. But they are so confused right now about who to trust. What I thought was fascinating was when they watched Comey's interview on George Stephanopoulos' show, they felt like they trusted Comey. As he went on and did more and more interviews, as he went on Colbert, Rachel Maddow, then it was like, wait a minute, does he have an axe to grind? I don't trust him. I'm not sure who to believe. And what it is, it's not that it's above their head. It's that it's just like it's inconsistent. And they just feel, I don't know who to trust. And I think what it's going to come down to in 2018, this is going to have a huge impact on 2018, is who do they trust more to do the right thing by the American people, Democrats or Republicans? And right now, they're just not sure.
Can Mayor Giuliani have an impact on what's going on down there with his new role?
It's a good question.
You know, I was a little taken aback when he said on Friday he's going to negotiate the president out of this in 3 weeks. Boy, if he does that, the president will worship at his feet. I don't know how he can do that, but that's Rudy. I will tell you this.
How much is being spent on this? I mean, is this tens of millions of dollars? How much does the special counsel, this whole probe that was based on no intelligence, how much is it costing?
He is required to report that every 6 months. I think it's now running about $1 million a month.
Yeah, that's rough.
Right.
It was like close to $1.5 million.
Iran-Contra was about 85 or 90 million, but that went on for 6 years.
All right, we will leave it there. Judge, always great insights from you. We appreciate
Pleasure,
it.
guys. Thank you.
Judge Andrew Napolitano there.